Hello, fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today with video number 7 of my Diamond Painting for Beginners series. So we've covered lots of topics previously. We've talked about where to buy your kits, how to organize your drills, how to prep your canvas, how to place your drills on the canvas, all that good stuff, adding in bling, lots of things. Today, we're going to be talking about how to finish your kits. I've had lots of questions about how I do things when I finish a kit, and so I thought I would share with you what it is that I do. First things first, you have to have all of your drills placed on your canvas. So this is my Conversation Halloween kit that I did for Drills and Chills that is now complete. Two things that I always do the very first thing when I finish a kit, and that is one, to go over them with a rolling pin. And I've had lots of people say that I'm crazy for this, but I do it. I have an old marble rolling pin that someone bought me ages ago to use in baking, but I use it for diamond painting, and all I do is use it to roll over my drills. Now I've already gone over this one, so you're not going to hear much. But if you have some drills that aren't properly seated, what you'll hear is some popping and clicking as you roll, and they kind of seat themselves into place. If you have some that maybe were just a little bit overlapping or not quite pushed down all the way, you can just roll and you'll hear some very satisfying clicks as everything pops into place. So I roll over the whole canvas. I generally roll as I go, so as I complete a section or a row, then I will go back and I will just roll over that section or row, especially if I know I have some drills that might not be quite seated properly. I just heard one pop into place there. So I will just roll over the whole thing to make sure that I have all of the drills seated. You can use any old rolling pin. I use this one, but if you just have a wooden rolling pin, they make all kinds of attachments that you can put on your diamond painting pin. You can buy yourself a brayer. I've had people say that I shouldn't use the marble because it's too hard and I could smush the drills. I've never had that happen, even with resin drills. So if you're worried that it will somehow flatten out the drills, it doesn't. I find that it just helps everything be seated properly so that I don't have to worry about drills popping off the canvas. So rolling over everything is one of my last steps with a canvas. The other thing that I do is that I go over the whole canvas to make sure that I haven't missed anything. If you are someone who uses a light pad, you probably don't need that step because you will have seen it as you were working with a light pad. But because I don't work with a light pad, sometimes I will miss just one drill here or there in a section. So what I do is I take my desk light and I put it underneath the canvas, and then I will just run the light under the canvas. So I have a desk light that has a flexible head, and I will just turn the head and then place it so the light is under the drills, under the canvas, and then I can see very easily if I have missed any drills in a particular section. It does also highlight drills that may not be perfectly aligned, so use that method at your own risk, but that's how I do it to make sure that I don't miss anything. So once I've made sure that all my drills are as flat as I can get them and I haven't missed anything, then I'm ready to move on to the next step. If you have a canvas where you have a lot of gapping and it really bothers you, you can always try to hide those gaps with mica. For me, I only have done this with white backgrounds. There is some gapping in this particular kit with the purple. You can't really see it looking at it just looking at it this way, but if I put the light underneath it, you can really see where some of the drills are not perfectly straight. For the most part, you'll never see it, and I'm happy with that, so I don't spend a lot of time fussing. However, if there was a ton of white and you had a lot of gaps in the white, which I have had with this kit, then you can get mica powder, which is just a very fine, almost like glittery powder, shimmery powder. And you can use a toothbrush or a paintbrush or something and sprinkle it in between the drills to hide the gaps. I've done it before, it works. However, when I was buying the mica powder, I only bought 2 colors. I only bought white and black. You can buy kits of mica powder where they're very small containers and you get like a variety of colors. So if you would want to do something like that, but for instance, in this kit, you might get away with putting white in the yellow of her hat, but it would look very different if you tried to fill in the white mica in her hair or in her green dress or something. But it does work if that's something that would bother you. Most of the time, like I said, I don't bother with that step of it. If I'm going to be framing it or something and the gapping really bothers me, then I might do it at that point. But generally, I don't bother with the mica, but it's always an option. For me, probably 99% of the time, where my kits are going to go is into portfolio storage. So I have 3 different sizes of portfolio, and I've done a video on that before, so I'll link that up in the corner. I have a small, I think it's 11 by 17 portfolio that fits like 30 by 40 and smaller. So if I have a lot of 30 by 30s, 30 by 40s, I can stick them in that portfolio, and I have 2 of those. I have what I call my medium-sized portfolios, and those are more like, I think, 18 by 24 inch. And those fit some of my larger canvases, like anything 40 by 50 to probably 60-ish. I don't know exactly what that works out to. For instance, this kit would not fit in it, I don't think, but some of the smaller ones would. I also have 2 of those that I can put diamond paintings in. And then I have my 3rd very large TV bag, and it is a bag meant to store flat screen TVs, to carry them around if you're like doing presentations and such, but it's big enough that it can store a flat screen TV. It zippers all the way open so that you can lay it flat, and that's what I use to store my very large diamond paintings in, and I just lay them in there one on top of each other. Sometimes I'll put cardboard in between just to keep things from sticking and whatnot, but 99% of the time, that is what I do with my finished diamond paintings, and that is just put them in storage in my portfolios. If it's going to go into a portfolio and just be stored, I don't bother sealing my paintings. Sealing is very much a personal preference, but for me, if I'm just going to stick it in a portfolio, I really don't see the point in spending all that time sealing it. I've not, knock on wood anyway, not had a problem thus far, especially after rolling over the drills and everything to make sure that they're adhered really well. I've not had a problem with anything popping off. That being said, my portfolio does typically just stay on a table, so it's not like they're getting moved around a lot other than that. But I don't, if it's going to go in a portfolio, I don't seal it. Also, if I'm going to frame it, I don't seal it. For me, I think framing it, it's going to be sandwiched in between glass and cardboard and plastic or whatever, acrylic. So it's not going to be exposed. So even if it's a round kit like this where you have some of the background showing behind the drills, it's going to be behind glass. That's going to protect it from most dust and dirt and all that sort of thing. So I'm not going to bother sealing it if I'm going to put it in a frame. So sealing is very much a personal preference. I typically, like I said, don't seal almost any of mine. If I have a problem with popping drills or something like that, I might seal it. But other than that, I don't. I know there are lots of people who seal every one of their paintings, and if you like that process, then go for it. However, something to be aware of, for a lot of diamond painting companies, if you seal it, you void your warranty. So that's just something to remember if you're thinking about sealing things. If you're going to actually seal a painting, there are lots of ways that you can do it. I have done it successfully with Mod Podge. You basically just buy the Mod Podge and then 1-to-1 with water, mix it so it's a little bit more watery, and then just apply it with a brush all over the canvas. It does make your canvas very stiff. You will not be able to roll it up afterwards. So if that rolling is important to you, then that may not be the method you want. I've seen people use a spray sealer. I've seen people use sealers that are made specifically for diamond paintings. You can get those at most diamond painting companies will sell some kind of sealer that you can buy from them. I've even seen people saying that they use a certain kind of polyurethane to seal it. I've never done that, so I don't know how well that works, but I have seen people who said they have done that. So if you want to use any of those methods to seal it, just to be sure for yourself that none of your drills are going to pop off, then you can certainly do that. But for instance, I have rolled this kit for storage and all of my drills are still where they're supposed to be, so I don't typically worry about sealing. The other thing that you can do if you want to display your canvas is to frame it. And I've done a video on framing, and I'll stick a link up there. There's lots of inexpensive methods, and then there's more costly methods. So inexpensive methods include things like, basically you can put washi tape around the whole edge just to cover up all the printing and everything. However, washi tape is sometimes see-through, so that doesn't always hide everything. Instead of using washi tape, you could use something more substantial like duct tape to cover the edges of the painting. And you can get duct tape in all kinds of colors, just like washi tape, so you can get something that complements whatever the painting is, whether that's the color scheme, or in the case of washi tape, getting some sort of pattern or whatever that fits with the theme of the painting. You can, if you don't want to use washi tape, I've never done this with budget kits, but I've done this with Diamond Art Club and a couple other premium companies. If you take like acetone nail polish remover or rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip or cotton swab, you can sometimes just rub off the ink that's printed on the canvas. So like you can get rid of all of the printing around it, so the canvas edges are just white, and then you can use that white as a border to frame it and hang it. You can use magnetic hangers if you want to do that. I've seen a lot of people who will cut everything down just to the edge of where the drill field is and then use magnetic hangers. They might leave a little bit at the top or the bottom to attach the magnetic hangers. It's all just a matter of preference. You can paint the sides of the canvas if you want, if you don't want to use tape or whatever. So lots of inexpensive ways that you can frame it. You can mount it on a canvas and just stretch it over like an artistic canvas. You can buy like wooden frames that you fit together, and then you stretch the canvas over that so you can cut off anything that doesn't show on the front. I've seen people do that as well. The most costly method of framing is, of course, to buy frames. And especially if you're in the US, because most diamond paintings tend to come in centimeter measurements, even centimeters, that does not translate evenly to inches. So it can be difficult to find a frame that fits, because you need to get something custom. I've ordered several custom frames before, and I've done a video on how I frame some pieces using custom frames, so I'll stick a link up there to that video so you can check that video out. There's a variety of things to do. You can measure it yourself so that basically all of the drills get exposed. I like to have all of the drills show because I figure I spent time placing them. I don't want to have to cut them off, but I know there are people who have, like for instance, this particular painting is 51 by 72 centimeters, so approximately 20 by 28 and a half inches. They might just get a 20 by 28 frame because that would be an easy frame to get in the States, and then just cut off what they needed to. If they needed to cut off 2 or 3 rows of drills, they'll just cut that off so that they can make it fit in the frame and it will display nicely. I don't like to cut everything off. And if I'm going to buy a custom frame, I'll just get it to fit. You can take it someplace and have it framed, or you can just order a custom frame and frame it yourself. I've not taken my kits anywhere to have them framed, but I know people, if you're a regular shopper at craft stores like Michael's or whatever, they often have coupons and sales for those sort of things. So you can take your kit in and have them do a custom frame with a mat and all the fancy stuff and get it for a fairly reasonable price if you've got coupons and things like that. Again, for me, if this is a kit that I am not going to frame or give to anyone, it's just going to go in my portfolio. So once I've gone over it with the rolling pin and I've used my light and made sure that I'm not missing anything, I'm good to go. It goes in the portfolio for storage and I'm on to the next kit. If I'm going to frame it because I'm going to give it to someone or I want to hang it in my own house, then I will typically just go online and order a custom frame. There's a couple of places you can do that. If you're in the States, there's a place called Frame USA. I've used them. There's also a place called Frame It Easy. I've used both of those and had great results. I've purchased frames on Amazon and just cut my canvases to make them fit. It's all just how much effort and work you want to put into it. I've seen people who will just leave it like this, washi tape matching or no, and just use some push pins and pin it up on their wall. However you want to display it is entirely up to you. But I do highly recommend going over it with the rolling pin just to make sure that when you hang it, no drills are going to fall off. So this particular one, I'm not going to frame or display She's super cute though, so she's probably just going to go into portfolio storage. So what I usually do is just make sure that I have taken a bunch of pictures for my videos, and then she will go into storage. I think most people who diamond paint a lot, most of their diamond paintings end up going into portfolios. But I also know there are lots of people who only diamond paint for gifts that they're going to give away or things that they're going to frame for their own home. Those people tend to either, if they're going to be gifts, work on a lot of smaller kits, or if it's things that they're going to hang in their own home, they tend to do a lot of much larger kits. Everybody only has a limited amount of wall space. You only have so many walls in your home. I do know some people who will rotate them though for seasonal things. So like this one may go in a frame, but it only gets displayed during Halloween, that sort of thing. However you want to do it is how you should do it. Again, I'm a huge advocate for people doing what makes them happy. Lots and lots of options, so don't let anybody tell you that you have to do it this certain way. You have to seal your diamond paintings, you have to frame them, you have to display them. You do what makes you happy. This little girl is going to go live in my portfolio storage. I may or may not revisit her when I do my end of the year, these are all the kits I finished in 2024 video. All right, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover for framing today, guys. Like I said, I've done videos on all of those things. I've done a video on my portfolio storage. I've done a video on sealing. I've done a video on framing different things. I've done a couple of videos on framing. I think I did one on inexpensive ways to do it, and then I did one where I was using like the custom frames that I bought. And I think all of them turned out equally well, honestly. So it's just a matter of what your preference is. If you think I missed anything or I didn't talk about a way that you finish off your kits, please share that in a comment below. I'm always curious to see how other people do things. So if there's something that you typically do to finish off your diamond paintings that I didn't talk about, I would love to know about it. I always learn so much from you guys, and I hope you feel the same. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.